13 years old, I was diagnosed with Tourette's syndrome. So right at the point, right, when you're basically kind of at the peak of puberty, entering high school, which is no pleasant experience for anybody as it is. And to have that on your plate, it just, made for not the most optimal outcomes. I really didn't cope with it. I didn't know how. I actually remember having a moment where I actually referenced this, like, ooh, this is heroin, and you know what, like, I don't really care. I remember walking down the street after I tried that and actually smiling to myself like, I feel nothing, right? And that was a very powerful moment for me, because that's something that I was not able to do for myself. The motivation to want to just engage further in that and not prioritize anything else in your life, it was almost like there was just no choice there. So that became the way that I started to not deal with, because that's not dealing with anything. It's escape and temporary relief from the very powerful extent of suffering that I was going through every day. The consequences, of course, obviously showed up, and at that time, even the way my brain was functioning, like I felt it, but I couldn't relate to it like you would otherwise in a sober state of mind. Like my family's pain at watching me go through what I was going through and things like that, of course, like I felt it, but you can't experience it in the same way. But what I started to realize was that I needed to play a role in this. The moment I made even just the slightest amount of room for that, and I was sincere about that, right? Those variables that would be very powerful in helping me transform and change came into my life. And literally, 24 hours later, the next day, I was walking down the street in this area that I was, using drugs in, and there was a guy watering his front yard, and I asked him for a cigarette, and he's like, sure. And he stopped watering, and he, lit up a cigarette with me, and we were talking, and of course, it was so obvious to him, not to me at the moment, but he took one look at me, and he saw, and he's like, so hey, what's going on with you, if you don't mind me asking? And I'm like, And then to kind of ease my lack of communication or my anxiety, he said, well, hey, my name's Dave, right? And I'm a recovered addict and alcoholic. So outside of all this chaos, right, and suffering, there was this guy that got it. He understood, non-judgmental, empathetic, right? And basically, I just want to help you. No agenda. I just want to help you. And that was translated. I felt that. I sensed that. And he did. But what was happening that I didn't realize at the time is that I was getting out of myself. I was finding a strength that had always been there. I just didn't know it. Okay? I found compassion, which has always been there, a huge part of my life. It had always been that way. And I started helping other people. And I found a form in existence that offered me something that wasn't pain or suffering and wasn't the drugs either. And I jumped in. And I started to see that my life was getting better, my suffering was starting to end, and that was the whole kind of start of it. And he was that person for me. He did that. Saw what I didn't see in myself, supported me unconditionally, right? Allowed me to fall down and butt my knee and get up on my own and support the value of that and turn that into a forum for learning as well. And use that as a huge lightning rod and conduit to be able to help other people. I know, as sure as I'm sitting here breathing, that I would not be who I am today. I would not have been able to reach with all honor and humility the people that I've been able to reach had I not gone through all of these life experiences. One, and the second part of that, the flip side of that coin, is found a place within myself because of people like him and these other people that I've been blessed with in my life, to turn those things into powerful victories, right? To find what had always been there. And that's the message, and I try to give other people too. Even in what we do, we're not changing people into something they're not. We are reigniting and reintroducing these people into what's always been there. It's a bridge that you have to cross, that you're going to gain understanding, you're going to gain wisdom, but most importantly, right, you're going to gain the knowledge that, again, you're not alone, right? That I'll be there 100% for you in your corner, as will all of our staff will be. I'm going to show you a path and a road where you can find these amazing ingredients that make you amazing, make you beautiful. When you have an experience, right, that cultivates an awareness that you actually have infinite value, and you start to recognize all the beautiful, wonderful attributes you have, that you are worthy, that you are deserving of having a life filled with freedom, success, joy, contentment, and passion. That is essentially, let me be more clear, that is your divine birthright. But you get to see yourself gaining in worth and confidence. At the end of the day, in layman's terms, that you do measure up, not only here but in life. So whatever comes next, you're prepared to deal with it. And most importantly, do so, contend with whatever life throws at you always from a space of, you know what, I matter and I love myself. And I finally learned that that is the lesson, and that everything else in your life will definitely flow beautifully and most importantly powerfully from that state, from that context.